Michael Patrick Shields is on the air.
Good morning, world.
Good morning, Michigan. A very pleasant Hump Day Wednesday to you. Michael Patrick Shields, heard all across the state of Michigan. Very glad to have you with us this morning on radio stations in Traverse City, Petoskey, Grand Rapids, Lansing, Mount Pleasant, Saginaw, soon to be Benton Harbor, Manistee and Greenville and Hastings and you name it. We are there. We're even heard on frosty Mackinac Island. But it's warm in the studio here, the Gillespie Group storefront studio, and hopefully your kitchen is warm this morning, or the vehicle you're driving to work in is toasty with the heat on full blast as winter is with us and Christmas is only a few days away. Gary Austin, very often on this program we have the Answer Man segment where you pose questions, and I've never been wrong with any of the questions you've tried to trick me with.
Not once.
Did you hear what's going on? The game show Jeopardy is going to pit man versus machine this winter in a competition that'll show how successful scientists are in creating a computer that can mimic human intelligence.
My gosh.
So a man is going to go, they're going to have Ken Jennings. Remember that guy who won millions and millions of dollars?
Right.
And
yes, years ago.
He's going to go up against the machine called Watson. And it's IBM Artificial Intelligence, and the matches are going to be spread over 3 days in February. It's like kind of like when IBM had that chess-playing computer.
Yes,
and went up against Garry Kasparov. So it's going to be questions and answers, and it's going to be man versus machine. This is right out of the movies, isn't it? Right out of the science fiction pictures.
We don't want to jinx Mr. Jennings for sure, but I'll tell you, going against a machine, I mean, if these folks at IBM can program this thing, and you know they're going to program it in such a way where, you name it, this machine's going to have information stored inside its data bank. And whether or not anybody can, even you, Answer Man, could match wits with it. It's going to be tough.
Answer Man versus machine one day might be interesting. You know what, though? When you think about it, if you have a search engine, like a Google thing, all you have to do is figure out how to get the question to the Google machine to look up the answer,
Well, that's got to be easy enough.
And they have voice actuated programs now where you could speak your news and it would come out in text. So, why not?
It's like you got to figure: can the machine ever be wrong about anything? As long as everything is programmed in. I mean, you could in effect take the database, all the knowledge that's been stored inside, let's say, Google or any of the search engines. I mean, there's a lion's share of information there. You got to figure virtually everything. Well, maybe not everything, but pretty darn close. That's ever been searched has been transmitted in such a way in Google. So I can't believe the IBM people are going to lose this one. It'll be interesting to see, though.
Yeah, I don't want to spook people out, but I read in Time magazine that I forget who it was, one of the big computer guys, maybe it was Bill Gates, he said that in our lifetime, search engines won't wait to be asked. In other words, you might have, instead of this BlackBerry that we tote around, you might have a little chip in your head so that you can make calls and do whatever. And when you start to think about something, the Google machine in your head will just do that search engine deal. And so before you even have to go on Google and ask, the thing will know what you're thinking, look for it, and give it to you. It'll be like you have an enormous hard drive, external hard drive, in your head.
Well, look what has happened in our business. And I'm sure those listening, they can say the same thing to varying degrees where they work, where machines have been able to do things that they could never do before, and as a result,
without asking.
At one time it took 5 people to do a job. Now the machine picks up the slack, and that 5 people now becomes 1 person.
You ever notice when you go on Google now and you're looking for something, all you have to do is put the first couple letters, and it'll give you like 10 possible choices that you're looking for based on your past search history and all that.
I mean, the search, as simple as it is even simpler.
Yeah,
it's astounding.
It's coming. I don't know. It's spooky to me.
It is. It's this whole 1984 George Orwell thing, which seems like ancient history today, put in today's computer perspective. But boy, it's still there. Every time we turn around, just when we thought they couldn't improve. I mean, remember, even a few years ago, when computers were dial-up, we figured this is incredible. There's no way this is going to get any better. And then high-speed comes along. So what's next?
We're going to hear from Governor Granholm next, coming up shortly. And I went over to her office yesterday, And now, a lot of people think the governor's office is in the Capitol building, but there's a ceremonial office there, Gary, as you know.
Yeah.
Ornate sort of thing where they sign bills and they take tours and that kind of thing. But her real office is in the Romney building, which is across the street. And it's just an office building where the governor's on the second floor there, and there are other floors with other office, state workers and that kind of thing. So when you go to see the governor, you go to her office. And so there's a security, obviously, in that building. So there's a security guard down there. And I went to drop her a copy of my book, Invite Yourself to the Party.
Yes, as promised, because you talked to her yesterday, and you promised. She said, you said, I'm going to swing on by, and she says, well, you don't have to be that expeditious.
Yes.
And I knew it. As soon as she said that, I said, nope, Michael Patrick, he's going to be there.
Yeah.
As soon as the show ends, he's going to zip
I did.
on down
I
the
went
street.
right after 9 o'clock. You're absolutely right.
I knew it. Right.
And so the security guard downstairs was very friendly, and I said, I have to drop this off for Governor Granholm.
Right.
And he said, oh, and he started making all the calls to approve, because when they accept something, there's a system to it. And then he says, okay, I'm going to send you up to the reception area on the second floor. And he says, can I get your ID? And so I handed him my ID, and he's looking at the ID to write the name down, and he sees my name, Michael Patrick Shields, and he recognized my name. And he says, oh, he says, wow, he says, famous people don't usually come drop off their own stuff.
I thought you were going to say, and then he called security.
No, he was security. But he said that famous people don't usually drop off their own stuff. And I said, well, that shows you how famous I am right there.
Well, isn't that neat?
It was a funny thing for him to say.
Yeah, that's quite a compliment. That's very nice. So then what happened?
Then I went upstairs and just dropped the book off there. And so
was the governor there to meet you?
I didn't. I just gave it to the front desk.
No, you didn't hang around.
No.
Like barge in.
No, I didn't want to interrupt him. It's an impressive office, though.
It is. No, it's pretty neat up there. Yeah, the ceremonial office is away from that office, but it was a great interview yesterday with the. She sure is cordial. She's just been wonderful with the media in her 8 years from a reporter's perspective here. Her office and the governor. Granholm, so accessible. She's just a very nice lady. She's terrific.
She is, and she's right till the end here. The stories are coming out about the things that she's been able to do, and now I understand some of these brownfield development programs that have gone through under her watch are really giving a boost to areas of the state and the economy.
Well, and incoming, her successor, Rick Snyder's got to be loving that because he can use all the help he can get because, he knows what kind of a job he has ahead of him.
Take a look at some of the specifics, though, if you would. Grand Rapids, for instance, their brownfield program where they're going to make former warehouses into restaurants and a fresh food market, a city market down there. And in the state capitol, not far from the Capitol building, the Pat Gillespie City Market Project and the Knapp's building, all part of the Brownfield Economic Development Program.
That's terrific. So different parts of the state really benefiting by this, and you provide those tax incentives, and the experts say it works.
Those are just a couple. There are all kinds of these things.
There are a whole bunch, all over the state. And we can talk about an incentive to convince, for example, General Motors to stick around. And when the whole Chevy Volt business was just getting off the ground, we were hoping, okay, build the Chevy Volt here, terrific. And the Detroit area, Hamtramck, got it. Okay, and then the batteries, and then Michigan ends up building the batteries too, putting those together, and West Michigan, getting some terrific contracts there to do that. And now we've got word, the very first, or I guess this would be the second Chevy Volt. The first one is probably somewhere that GM has tucked away for
in a museum or something.
For future. But in any event, the second one,
essentially the very first Volt that was available to the public was auctioned.
Yes, that's it. The very first one that we could get. And answer, man. How much do you think that second Chevy Volt fetched?
They cost about $40,000, don't they?
Yeah.
Okay, and you get an $8,000 government rebate, so it takes it down to about $32,000 or $33,000. Right?
Now this is an auction to benefit the Detroit Public Schools. That's where the money went.
All right. So there's the distinction of having like the first Volt. Is that what this is?
Technically the second, but the very first that
available.
Yeah, that we could buy.
Oh, so somebody wanted it as a souvenir. So I would say if it's retails for $42,000, they spent $46,000.
$225.
$225,000 for a Volt.
Imagine that. It went for auction yesterday. It went online. A flurry of last-minute activity, we're told. Send the price up. Actually, it was sitting there at $185,000 with 17 minutes to go, and then some folks, you know how it is in these online auctions, people, they can't live without it. It becomes a competitive sort of thing, and that was certainly the case yesterday. The first Volt rolled off the assembly line at the Detroit Hamtramck plant, and it's being kept by General Motors for display at as you said, the GM Heritage Museum. Now, the identity of the winning bidder for the second Volt will be revealed sometime. Let's see, it's going to happen sometime this week, and we're told it could happen tomorrow night.
You could put that Chevy Volt in the back of the Chevy Suburban that I'm driving right now. 2007 right. Chevy Suburban with 40,000 miles available at Hyundai of Lansing, and it's only $27,000. It's like a $60,000 vehicle, lower than Blue Book value. Go to Hyundai of Lansing if you want to buy the Chevy Suburban that I'm driving right now. Hyundai of Lansing, anywhere in the state, and that Suburban can be yours. It's 18 after the hour. I'm Michael Patrick Shields. And it wouldn't be the state capitol from which we broadcast if it weren't for the legislators. And they're coming back today after we thought an adjournment of the lame duck session. And we will talk with 3 legislators live in our studio less than an hour from right now. So beware. Hide the kids. They're coming, including the incoming new Speaker of the House. Jace Bolger will be with us in studio right here. Larry King is wrapping up his long career at CNN and his long media career, in fact, in radio before that. Thursday night will be his final guest. And as I understand it, Barbra Streisand will be featured tonight. I don't know who his Thursday night final guest will be, but I know last night he had the Judds with him, Larry King did, and he asked them about Aretha Franklin from Michigan. And here's what they said.
I stood literally 10 feet from her watching her play piano and singing, and I wept. I don't know how to explain it, Larry. It brings out something so primal, like the mother's heartbeat and a laughter of a child. Mm-hmm. It is not of this world.
Yeah, the Queen of Soul now battling cancer, as we understand, in Detroit. But those are the Judds yesterday talking about Aretha Franklin on Larry King. Now, Larry King has, he's always had the big guests, and he's gotten a lot of attention, and he didn't used to have any competition, but now he does. And some people say that he's past it, that it's time for him to go ahead and enjoy the seventh wife or whatever the rest of his life entails. Here's an example from our audio director, Tony Cuthbert, of Larry King having a bit of a moment, which you're going to have if you're on the air that many nights for that long.
And Bill Marler, he's an expert on foodborne illness litigation. He's been litigating on this issue since the Jack in the Box E. coli outbreak in 1993. My tongue got caught in my teeth. I could not see what I was saying.
Yeah, that's easy for you to say, Larry King. Let me give you a little update on what's going on in the world now. The Senate is going to vote today on a tax cut agreement reached by President Obama and congressional Republicans. $858 billion measure is going to extend the Bush-era tax cuts for 2 years and extend federal unemployment benefit for 13 months. That's the compromise that was reached. The nominees for the 68th Golden Globe Awards were announced yesterday. We're going to talk to Ron Van Timmeren from Celebration Cinemas a little bit later. The British drama The King's Speech leads the list of nominees with 7 nominations, followed by the films The Fighter, The Social Network. They each got 6 nominations, and Fox's hit musical Glee got 5 Golden Globe nominations. Ricky Gervais is going to host the ceremony on January 16th. I think, what's his name? Captain Jack Sparrow there. What's he called? What's his real name? Johnny Depp. He got nominated twice in one category, so it'll be a good year for Johnny Depp and his movie, The Tourist. I haven't seen it yet, but I heard it's really good. Mr. Mulhern told me that it's a really good movie, and I'm going to see it as soon as I can. And that movie was also nominated. Families would be able to make a tax-free gift to their children or others of as much as $10 million. That's an increase from the current limit of $2 million under the tax cut bill Congress is debating this week. That is something we ought to talk to Craig Godfrey about a little bit later from Godfrey Weisberg, CPAs and Advisors, if we could call him as soon as we could, because that's a big difference, right? in the gift tax, the death tax, the estate tax, as they call it. The man accused in connection with the disappearance of his 3 young sons is going to be arraigned today in Lenawee County in Michigan. There was a short hearing in Toledo, and Joel Skelton was returned to Michigan, ordered to be held on $30 million bond. He'll be arraigned by video this afternoon on charges of parental kidnapping. The sons, the 9-year-old Andrew, 7-year-old Alexander, and 5-year-old Tanner, haven't been seen since Thanksgiving. He claims they're safe and in hiding, but authorities are disputing that claim. Governor Jennifer Granholm joined us yesterday, and we talked about various things, including the sort of fading out of her after 8 years in office as she makes her way into the sunset because of term limits. And the man who replaced her, who stood with her at a press conference earlier this week, succeeded her indeed, Rick Snyder. And I asked Governor Granholm, what do you make of Rick Snyder?
I like him. I think, I mean, obviously I'm a Democrat, and I voted for Mayor Bernero, but I think that he's setting the right tone. He's appointing people who are pragmatists, not overtly partisan. I think he wants to be a problem solver. So I'm encouraged for Michigan. And, we're going to be handing him a $400 million surplus in the year that we are in, which is terrific because he won't have to come in and cut in the middle of the budget year that we are into. And our unemployment rate now has outperformed the national average in the sense that, not that it's better than the national average, but in terms of its drop, we have dropped 3 times faster than the national average. It's the first year this year that we've actually created private sector jobs in Michigan for the entire decade. So he's heading into, I think, a situation that is set up for him to succeed, and I'm very bullish on Michigan's future.
It's ironic. If you had been in Las Vegas midway through your second term and they asked you to put money down on who would succeed you, he probably wouldn't have even showed up on the board.
Yeah, it is interesting, but I think it signals that, people, obviously he was well-financed and all of that, and I think that having a primary in his case helped him because there were people who were duking it out, and he emerged. But I think that symbolically, having somebody who is willing to be bipartisan and reasonable, pragmatic, compromising, I think that's a good thing for Michigan.
What do you make of the fact that he ran as an outsider and now seems to be reaching into the Engler administration to populate his administration?
Well, I mean, you have to be able to tap the talent that has been around, and the last Republican administration was the Engler administration that was there for 12 years. So obviously you're not going to get away from that entirely, and he does need to have some seasoned hands on deck to be able to hit the ground running like he wants to do. So, that's not a bad thing at all. But I think what's really great, in my opinion, is that he comes into office with some really good civil servants who are phenomenal, who have been members of our team too, that have tried to, and I mean our team in terms of governing the state, not our team in terms of Democratic Party, but who have really been focused on our efforts to diversify and to educate our citizens and making sure that we have a safety net as we transition from an old Michigan economy to a new Michigan economy. So yesterday we had these announcements about the MEDC, and just quickly, the MEDC since 2003 has been able to attract over 3,900 business expansions just in this 8-year period, 3,900. And those business expansions are projected to create 653,000 jobs over the next few years. So, and these are in new sectors. So we come out of this recession with a much more diverse economy. Now, that's terrific for the future of Michigan. And then we raised all of these standards for education. Every child now in Michigan is taking a college prep curriculum in high school, and there was all this fear that would cause the dropout rate to increase. But, in fact, the dropout rate has gone down. Test scores in every grade in math and science are rising since we adopted these new standards. We've got a 70% increase in AP test takers, advanced placement course test takers in high school. We've got a 35% increase in enrollment in community colleges. All of those are great indicia for the future success of Michigan.
So, for the most part, he resisted criticizing you during the entire election process. And on Inauguration Day, is it like in Washington? Does he come to the residence and have tea, and then you all drive over to the Capitol and that sort of thing?
I don't. I don't think he's coming here first. I think he's coming here after. But we're out by then. So, in terms of the residents, but it is obviously a great symbol of the transition of power that I'll be there to sort of hand the baton to him and wish him well, and then I get to leave.
Do you get to get in a helicopter and fly over the Capitol?
I wish it were that simple, but shortly thereafter, Dan and I are going to take a little break, a little vacation.
That's what I heard. A little bit of beach time would be awfully good, and then a lot of time.
Looking for that margarita on the beach.
Yeah, and a lot of time with your family. And that's fantastic. And a lot of people are going to be asking you, of course, when you're done with all that, what do you want to do next? Any clue yet? Any offers? Any ideas?
Well, I'm going to talk about that in January.
Okay.
So I'll keep you posted.
So maybe that margarita will give you some clarity on where you're going next.
Well, I have a pretty good idea, but the margarita will certainly make the beach experience real.
Yeah.
And I'm going to fully enjoy it. I'm going to bring my books I haven't been able to read, and I'm excited about that.
Have you read your husband's book yet, Be Real?
I have read my husband's book. What a great book it is.
And what about your favorite talk show host's book, Invite Yourself to the Party? Have you read that one yet?
when we were at your book signing, you didn't have a copy of it there yet. So I haven't even seen a copy of it yet.
Oh, dear God, I'm mortified.
You got to get me one, man.
I'm so embarrassed, and you can take it on the beach with... No.
Exactly. You got to sign it, though.
All right, I'll bring it to the residence today, I promise.
Well, you don't have to be that expeditious, but thank you.
That's
and
how
thanks
I
so much over the years for having me on, allowing me to have access. I really wish all of your listeners a fabulous holiday season, and just to let them know that we're going to be all right. I know that we've had a lot of battles, meaning me and the legislature, over the past years. But, in the end, they got 80% of the things done. We achieved 80% of the things that I proposed. So even though there were battles, we have made progress. And, for those who haven't agreed with everything that I've done, please know that I've done this out of sheer love for this fabulous state of ours. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas to you too, Governor Granholm. Thank you very much for the time this morning. The Lieutenant Governor, John Cherry, outgoing Lieutenant Governor, who at one time was a candidate for governor, will join us when we get back from the break. And speaking of getting back, a National Guard unit from West Michigan is going to celebrate the holidays at home with their families. The members of the Wyoming-based Company C Brigade Special Troops Battalion came home yesterday after a year in Afghanistan, and they were welcomed by local veterans groups and Patriot Guard riders, civic leaders. It was an emotional ceremony at the Armory on 44th Street. Let's make them our Northwood University leaders of the day. The National Guard unit from West Michigan there. C Company, Brigade Special Troops Battalion, Northwood University leaders of the day, celebrating 50 years of producing leaders. Lieutenant Governor Cherry when we get back. It's Michael Patrick Shields.
Gone away is the bluebird, here to stay.
Michael Patrick Shields in the Gillespie Group storefront studio on the Avenue of Michigan. Nearly Christmas. Actually, this is already, it's all Christmas. I mean, haven't you been invited to a Christmas party by now? The schedule has been up and running, and we understand that more and more people are having holiday parties than in the past couple of years when the economy was tough. Phil Denny's on the front line of that sort of thing, the great saxophone player with us here in our Gillespie Group storefront studio. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Do you have any nights off during the holidays at all? I wouldn't think so.
Maybe Sunday night.
I mean, every time I turn around at a party, whether it's Cheryl Freeborough or my book signing party, or there have been all kinds of people that have inquired, how do we get Phil Denny? It's like almost like the party doesn't count unless you're there.
Well, I don't know. It's been great. The local support has been fabulous. So, and of course, I like to be part of the party.
Yeah, invite yourself to the party.
That's right.
Have you noticed more Christmas parties this year than in the past?
I have.
Yeah.
Actually. And on a smaller scale, certainly. More private parties. Not just the large galas and so forth. So, a lot of fundraisers. For nonprofits, and then, of course, even some of the locals just having, house parties and so forth. So
it's amazing what music will do to jazz up a party.
Yeah,
Pardon
I think
the pun.
so. Right.
And how does it work? Now, you're a one-man show, right?
Not only a one-man show. I
Mhm.
also have a six-piece group called
Oh.
Too Smooth for Notes, and we still play. It's just that more often now I'm performing as a solo artist.
And when you come to a party by yourself like that, what do you do?
I play primarily musical tracks,
Mm-hmm.
either that are created or purchased, and entertained.
You're going to show us what you do over the next hour, and you'll be able to hear it on the radio all across the state of Michigan.
Yes,
Do you
great.
get invited to, or hired, I guess it would be, to perform at places outside the state capitol too?
I do. I've been for the last several years, but more recently in the last couple months, traveling more than I have in the past, certainly, and that's because I've been more aggressive with my marketing and with my music. So yes, outside of the capital of Lansing and throughout the state, and even sometimes on occasion outside of the state of Michigan.
How do people find you?
PhilOnSax.com.
PhilOnSax.com. PhilOnSax.com. And do you alter your show at Christmas time to do more Christmas music, or do you stay with the normal act?
I do. I alter the sets, and I love this time of year.
You
so
do. You like playing Christmas music.
I do. I do.
See, every big star has Christmas songs, right?
Yes.
Christina Aguilera, you name it. They all do a Christmas
Mariah
album.
Carey, Kenny
Yeah.
G, whoever. Yeah.
And Phil on sax.
There
Phil
we go.
Denny. PhilOnSax.com. So that'll be fun, and we'll have people milling all about here. If you've never been to our Gillespie Group storefront studio, you can see it on television, of course, on Fox 47. But if you're anywhere in the state, it's made for entertaining. There's a coffee house with windows to the studio and the street outside. And this morning, you're going to get an extra treat of live music from Phil Denny at Christmas time. And then later, our Mid-Michigan Business Wrap will be here, and the place will be bustling with all sorts of people. I think everybody on that panel by now has just about hired you, or they're going to.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah.
Terrific. Phil Denny. And if you had one song left to play, and God wanted to hear it, what would it be?
I would probably play Little Drummer Boy.
Yeah?
I've loved that song since I was a kid.
All right. Yeah, kids love that song, don't they, Little Drummer? They can hear it over and over and over and over. Well, thank you very much. We'll look forward to hearing you and seeing you all the next hour.
Thank you.
Phil Denny, PhilOnSax.com. Music to some people's ears is that there are some changes in the tax code, and Craig Godfrey from Godfrey Wise Berg, CPAs and Advisors, is with us here to explain it. Good morning, Craig.
Good morning, Michael Patrick. How are you?
Good. We understand now that under this compromise package that Obama has put together, the president and the Senate's going to vote on that today, families will be able to make tax-free gifts to their children or others of as much as $10 million. That's an increase from the limit of $2 million. What does that mean?
Well, it means that, of course, the generations can gift a little bit more to the younger generations and transfer wealth a bit more.
So that protects the money that normally would be taxed after you die, the so-called death tax or estate tax, because you're giving it away?
Well, that's right. If it's in the parents' estate and they pass away and they exceed whatever, Congress is still thinking about where they want that, maximum limit for that generation. If they exceed that, then the tax rate could be, the discussions are anywhere from 35% on the amount that's over that, or 45%, or, possibly even more.
You know what? It's astonishing to me that you, let's just say this very simply. Phil Denny works a gig, let's say, at the Pontiac Silverdome, and they pay him $100 million.
Okay.
And he's going to give up $40 million of that in taxes, right?
Right.
So he's going to get $60 million. The next day, the Silverdome roof caves in, and he sadly perishes in the accident. The government wants a piece of the 62 just because he passed away.
Well, if that's exactly right, because that's going
something.
to be part of his estate.
Yeah, it just doesn't make the money's already been taxed, and just because you happen to croak, they're going to take another piece of it from you.
That's right. But on the other side, the positive side, if you want that, the 40 that was taxed earlier, that's not going to be taxed again because that was paid in income taxes. So
Yeah, I know,
you're
but when
right.
you,
The 60 though is going to be.
yeah, isn't that nice?
Yeah, exactly.
So what he would want to do is give it away if he knew, he'd give away up to $10 million now if he knew that his time was coming.
That's right.
Okay. Godfrey Weisberg, CPAs and Advisors. Craig Godfrey, the number's going up. That's part of the Obama compromise that'll be voted on today in the United States Senate. It's Michael Patrick Shields on Wednesday. Good morning, Michigan. A very pleasant Wednesday to you. Michael Patrick Shields, heard all across the state of Michigan. Hide the children. The legislators are back in town. This is tough. This is tough. They're all here in our Gillespie Group storefront studio.
We heard it was a party. You have
you invited yourself to the party.
Player and
yeah,
everything else.
that's right. Phil Denny is here playing saxophone, Christmas carols today. Everybody seems to be in a good mood. It's State Representative Wayne Schmidt, the Republican from Traverse City, State Senators Jason Allen and Alan Cropsey. Jason Allen from Traverse City in northern Michigan and Alan Cropsey from DeWitt, where, by the way, tonight I'll be speaking at the DeWitt Public Library.
Really?
Yeah, a little talk and book signing for Invite Yourself to the Party.
Okay.
Everyone's
What time
welcome.
is that?
7 o'clock, and there's no charge or anything like that. And so if you're in the DeWitt area and you want to stop by, we also have Representative Frank Foster now from the 107th District, the Mackinac area. Good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning.
So this is tough because it seemed like last week we all said goodbye for the year.
And what?
You're back.
Welcome to the Hotel California.
You can check out.
And you can never leave.
That's right. But when you went to the wee small hours of the morning that day in the House and in the Senate, and now you're back for one day, as I understand it?
Well, I yield to the floor leader because it's been a unique set of phone calls you've been getting, right, Al?
Oh, yeah. The question became there were some bills that were there that just needed some technical things done to them in order for them to go to the governor. And at first we were looking at it and saying, no, let's not come back for that. And then enough of our caucus called us that said, we want to have a caucus, and there's certain of these bills we want to take up. And I don't know if there's anything major in any of those bills, but there are people that just wanted their they said it passed the House, it passed the Senate, we need to send it on to the governor. So that's what we're back for.
What would have happened if you didn't come back?
Well, then you would have had probably about a dozen bills that would have expired and that would have had to have been introduced next year if people had wanted to take them up next year.
All over again?
Yes.
Yep.
Now, this is because of as I understand it, and you can fill us in, the House has caused this, correct? By sending
the House always causes that.
We're always the troublemakers. There's a few bills that the Democratic side wanted, and so the Speaker called us back in.
And you sent these, and you're sending these all over now, so everybody's back for one day. Is it going to be one of those late night days again?
That's a good guess. We're not sure. We're anticipating the worst just to make sure.
You are?
Yeah.
You brought pillows today to the floor of the House?
I've got work that I can do. I'm going to rest my voice a little, too.
Yeah, I would think so. You're going to need it in the coming year for sure, State Representative Wayne Schmidt. So I saw that the governor's going to sign the Airtropolis bill today.
Yes, and that starts at 1:30. We found out about it late last evening that she's going to be signing it. So I've got to find the details out about where it is, and if we're not in session, that might be a fun thing to go down and take a look at.
Will you remind us what it is, especially
basically
for those?
This gives a set of tools for streamlining the credit process for airports. There's 5 of those. By far, the Detroit-Wayne County area is far ahead, but allows for other communities to do that. And the beauty of that is that you don't have to worry about going to local units of government. This is all pre-assigned. Because local units of government work to make those agreements prior to locating those facilities.
So and therefore, these areas around the airport can get a real economic boost from development.
It's based on the Thomas Friedman book, The World is Flat, where they were using the aspect of Louisville. As you know, they were using that as a UPS hub and still do. Then because of that, other facilities, infrastructure is located next to it, whether it's the Toshiba plant that allows for the fixing of computers, people that need to get
be
product.
near the shipping.
Correct. And so it's a concept that has been developed over about the last 10 years and is kind of started with the Pinnacle Project. Then we allowed it to be replicated. So if you're listening to 1210 or 1110 up in Frank or Wayne and my area, they have the opportunity to work on that if the communities can get their act together, whether that be Pellston or the Traverse City Airport. There's 5 of those zones put together. In addition to that, there are some additional tax credits for Renaissance zones, which allow businesses to operate tax-free, which is an additional tool. But those are a little bit more cumbersome to get.
I did talk with the governor yesterday, and I've heard she sort of seems to be saying on her way out that she's happy she could set the stage for the economic growth and recovery that's now taking root. I'm looking at 4 Republicans. Does anybody care to react to that?
We all have big grins, don't we?
Yeah. The silence speaks volumes, I guess.
Well, there are some good things. I mean, Governor Granholm cares about the state.
Certainly.
We all do.
Certainly.
But I think I'm excited that we're going to have our shot at it. And with Frank Foster coming in, whole group new freshmen, we're gonna continue to make some things happen.
Is the go ahead? Sorry.
No, I think that's interesting that she thinks she's part of the recovery because folks like me that swung districts from Democrat to Republican, you saw that wave across the state. If she was doing that great a job, maybe that might not happen. Maybe I wouldn't be here. So that's kind of our charge to come and start that recovery maybe all over again.
Your man Rick Snyder, the incoming governor, was gracious when I posed that question to him. He said, "I want anyone who's had any part of it to go ahead and take credit." So far, he seems to be sticking to his, kumbaya mantra.
And that's fine. I mean, as I said, there were some things that we worked with the governor on. We got our transit-oriented development package through, and matter of fact, she signed some of those bills. So if there are good things that happen, yeah, I'm not going to deny her some credit. I mean, there's some things that were way beyond her control. But I think we're going to lead in these next 2 years, and Governor Snyder is really going to set the stage.
There's a lot of tools in the toolbox, and if you take a look at the sets of credits that have been issued, the abilities for communities to self-determine how they're going to restructure their downtowns, how they're going to go through and rebuild their machine tooling areas, how they're going to go through and attract businesses. There's a set of tools for batteries. There's a set of tools. But the question is going to be is that where's the state going to be overall? We have some cumbersome issues. The last General Motors plant in the state of Michigan took 84 governmental approvals in a year and a half to get approved. South Carolina can get that done in under a month.
Wow.
Yeah, and see, that's going to be the real challenge for Governor Snyder to say, how do you get the permitting process down to a very reasonable time? In fact, and not more than reasonable, very competitive time, so that when people say, we have a product, we need to build it now, how quickly can we get it done? In Michigan, for example, if you say, well, we can't get the plant up and going for 2 years or 3 years, they say, fine, we're going someplace else.
And Al's very correct. Then you got to take a look at our university graduates. Approximately half the graduates in math and sciences from U of M are foreign-born. How do we get more of our Michigan students, or if we're going to keep attracting the foreign-borns, how do we keep those here in the state of Michigan?
That's not why they come here, though, right? They don't come here to live in Michigan.
I believe we have a very fine institution, several very fine institutions, and we've got to figure out how we are going to get more of our kids or keep the brightest and the best in the state of Michigan.
What do you think, real quickly, of the Mackinac Island ferry deal that was cut? We haven't had a chance to talk about that.
I think it's kind of it's fair. It's allowing for the status quo to move forward. Frank's going to have a unique opportunity to be in charge of that over the next few years. But if you go back to the Public Act of, what is it, 1892, Frank? 1872. That allows for specifics on the council that are unique to the island groups. And if you remember, at that time, there was large populations in North and South Manitou, North and South Fox, Beaver, Mackinac, Beauce Blanc, and so this was actually policies that were laid out by the legislature. Sadly, the only real large populations are on Beaver Island and on Mackinac.
So we've got 2 years till we face this issue again. During which time the council can figure out how to squeeze out Sheplers, is what it sounds like.
Frank Foster is going to lead the way on what they need to do.
Absolutely, already on it.
Oh, boy.
We're going to be at the Legislative Retirement Center in the summer. We'll allow media to visit there, too.
Well, since Phil Denny is here and since it's the holidays and since we have a surprise day at the legislature today, that could go in tonight. And some people, including Senator Bishop, are saying, this is a dangerous time to come back for monkey business.
And Senator Bishop is absolutely right on that.
And Representative Elsenheimer said the same thing the other day. We thought that we would put your voices to good work.
Okay.
And you would give us a Christmas carol, because on the floor of the House and the Senate today, probably that's the most useful thing you could do, right?
That's right.
Phil Denny, PhilOnSax.com is where you can find him. Which ditty will you give our representative? Jingle Bells. You can manage that, right?
No problem.
All right, from the top. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey!
Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Dancing through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh. O'er the fields we go, laughing all the way. Bells on bobtails ring, making spirits bright. What fun it is to ride and sing a sleighing song tonight. Oh, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride in a one-horse open sleigh.
All right, your
All right.
tax dollars at work this morning in the state of Michigan. Thank you
I
very
will be
much.
having office hours if anyone wants to join us in
All right.
Paradise, Michigan on Friday at 11 o'clock.
Paradise, Michigan, State Senator Jason Allen. We also welcome State Representative Wayne Schmidt. Whiskey and honey for your voice, I'd say. If you would. State Senator Alan Cropsey, let us know when you're ready with your announcement.
I will.
And,
It's nice to see you wearing orange today,
That's right.
sir.
Thank you.
Wonderful Irishman that you are.
I should be wearing green. You're right. Back in a flash. United States Congressman Mike Rogers, the Republican from Brighton, is on the Intelligence Committee and on the other end of our line. Merry Christmas to you, sir.
Oh, how are you?
Very good. I'm looking here at a news report about the passing of Richard Holbrooke, the veteran U.S. diplomat who helped bring peace to Bosnia and was President Obama's special envoy to Pakistan and Afghanistan. He died at the age of 69 after complications of what I understand is a heart surgery. But the story is saying that his last words were, "You've got to stop this war in Afghanistan." What's your reaction to that?
Well, I think we'd all like to stop the war in Afghanistan, and I think there's many, including myself, that are having some doubts about the way that we're going about the fight there. I know the national assessment of it, that's mainly classified, casts some doubts, not on the military side. The military folks are doing everything that they've been tasked to do, but you have to have the political and the diplomatic and the military missions all aligned, and I'm not convinced, and I think that's what he was reflecting, that it is aligned.
Talk domestically, if we can, for a minute there. The Senate apparently is going to vote today on this tax cut agreement. Now, if you can just put it in layman's terms for us, basically, the Bush-era tax cuts will be extended. That means everybody, no matter how much you make, will get a tax cut. In return, or in the compromise, we've also extended the unemployment benefits for 13 months for those people who don't have a job. So, what do you make of that compromise, and do you support it?
Yeah, I do. No bill is perfect. There's a lot of other provisions in there. Some things I agree with, some things I don't. But here's the biggest misnomer about the whole thing. No one, and I mean no one, will get a tax cut. What it is it prevents everyone's taxes from going up. Under current law, taxes is scheduled to go up January 1st. So what we're saying is don't raise taxes in a down economy. It makes no sense. And don't raise it on anybody. We want money staying in local communities to create jobs. So I think it's a good compromise. It is a compromise. And I think the House will kind of end up going along with it, and it's the right thing to do. Put a little certainty back in the economy so businesses can start investing in themselves and their employees.
If the vote to extend the unemployment benefits were standalone, in other words, if it didn't have anything to do with maintaining the Bush-era tax rates, would you have voted for it?
If they paid for it, I voted for the last a couple in frustration that the Democrats, who were in control of both the House and the Senate and the President, wouldn't pay for them, and meaning they wouldn't find offsetting costs somewhere else. I thought it was important enough to go ahead and find a way to pay for those and get it to the people who deserve it most, but they wouldn't do it. They just kept heaping it on the debt. And I said that was my last one. Unless we start paying for it, we just can't continue this way. So, my chagrin is that, next year we'll have, well, at least my hope is that next year we're going to have the opportunity to start paying for these kinds of things. If we can't pay for unemployment extension, what can we do to cut in reform government? So to me, it was just made no sense whatsoever that we couldn't find offsets, for some crazy spending that we all know we're doing back there in Washington, D.C., to take care of people who are hurting here at home.
There are some hardline right-wing conservative Republicans who are saying this deal should never have been struck, that Republicans have the wind behind their sails now and they should have not compromised, that they weren't elected to compromise. Well, how do you answer that?
Well, even when we take control, and remember, right now we have very few votes in the House of Representatives. Come January, we'll have 244, but we still have to deal with a Democrat Senate and a Democrat president. So to think that somehow we're going to be in charge of Washington D.C., somebody needs to go back to their civics class. It doesn't work that way. So we will initiate, all the budgets will initiate in the House. That's a good thing because we can start engaging in fiscal constraint, and we're going to actually send cuts to the Senate and hopefully to the president, and we're going to work those things. But at some point, you have to reach agreement. And as long as you don't sacrifice your principles and you're moving forward, that's a good day when you don't control all three chambers, or both chambers in the executive branch.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much. I know it's a busy time of year for everyone as they're trying to sort out their plans and get ready for the new year, and I appreciate the time very much, and I hope we'll see you somewhere during the holidays.
I hope we do. I'm not an eggnog guy, but I have filled more than one cup or two along the way.
Yeah. In fact, I think it's next Monday. I'm going to be in Brighton at Gordy Bodell's house with Tony Baltimore and Tim McGuire and Gregory Eaton and a bunch of the usual suspects for our annual Christmas lunch. So maybe we'll connect in Brighton if you're back then.
I hope so.
All right.
That's worth the price of admission just for the entertainment factor of that crowd.
Oh, there's no question about it. This is a group, all right. Well, I'll see you very soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate your time.
United States Congressman Mike Rogers, the Republican from Brighton, and the Intelligence Committee. The death tax, I'm sure he would have agreed with Craig Godfrey, who we spoke to a little bit earlier this morning, the CPA. Families will be able to make tax-free gifts to their children of up to $10 million, in case you have an extra $10 million laying around, instead of $2 million, which is the current limit under the tax code in Congress right now. That's all up for debate. A federal grant wants to help hundreds of children eat healthier in Grand Rapids and other cities around the state. But in Grand Rapids, it's a $700,000 award that's going to fund a pilot program to build on the free school lunch program in the summer months. And so Grand Rapids school officials say 2,500 children are going to be chosen for the pilot program. It's going to be administered by the Women, Infants, and Children program. They want kids to eat healthier, and so they're going to try to do that. You hear that debate going on all the time now about should the government be involved in deciding what schools serve at lunch. That's up for debate right now. And if nutritionists have their way, Detroit fast food restaurants would do more than hold the pickles and the lettuce. They'd stop opening altogether. The Washington, D.C.-based Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine called on Mayor Bing to impose a moratorium on new fast food restaurants. They say that Detroit needs a diet because it's the fourth highest heart disease rate in the nation. 3,400 city residents in Detroit die each year. So they think that instead of opening fast food restaurants, you just put a stop to it. So less fast food restaurants would mean maybe people wouldn't go to them as often if it wasn't as convenient right there on the corner. They have 73 fast food restaurants in Detroit, and the former mayor, Kwame Kilpatrick, at one time proposed a fat tax on the fast food restaurants to raise revenues and increase health initiatives. The plan went nowhere, maybe because he wasn't exactly the perfect spokesperson for something like that. So should we stop building fast food restaurants, not only in Detroit but in other places too, in order to stop people from going to fast food restaurants? Of course, you've got the billboards and the television advertising. You ever been sitting at home like at 8 o'clock at night and watching an NFL football game or something like that, and all of a sudden comes a Domino's pizza commercial or any of the other pizza chains, and they show that pizza and the cheese and the pepperoni, everything. You had no intention that night, right, of buying a pizza, but all of a sudden they made it look so good that you said, you know what, maybe we can get on the phone there and order up a late night snack. Next thing you know, there's 2,000 calories sitting at your door waiting for you.
And you've eaten every single piece of the pizza along with all of the breadsticks.
It happens. Well, speaking of NFL football and sports and stuff like that, I guess the word is that Brett Favre may play again. This is quite the drama, isn't it? And if he does, he'll have to play outside because the Metrodome roof has collapsed. And the word is that Monday's Vikings-Bears game is going to be played at the University of Minnesota's fancy new outdoor stadium, which means it'll be cold and snowy and all that, and they've got to figure out, the technical requirements, and it's fewer seats, so that'll be an issue. But it'd be fun to see Monday Night Football in a brand-new stadium. Pistons snapped a 4-game losing streak yesterday, 103-80, with a win over the Hawks. They've got the Los Angeles Clippers on Friday night. Oakland University, the Golden Grizzlies, who nearly beat Michigan State, have beaten number 7 Tennessee with an 89-82 win over the Volunteers. Congratulations to Oakland University, knocking off the big boys. They almost beat, was it Purdue, too, earlier this year? Michigan beat North Carolina yesterday, too. Phil Denny will play us out here with some Christmas music. PhilOnSax.com is where you can find him. He's live in our studio. That is the live music of Phil Denny, who is here live in our Gillespie Group storefront studio on the Avenue of Michigan. You can find him at PhilDennyOnSax.com if you want to hire him anywhere in the state of Michigan for your holiday party or otherwise. He's playing the saxophone right here in the coffee house, right next door with the windows wide open. People are enjoying Christmas music, and he will be here till 11 o'clock this morning if you want to join us in the state capital area. Right here, we're across from the baseball stadium in downtown Lansing, broadcasting to radio stations all across the state of Michigan. And Amanda Wall, Phil Denny can't talk right now because he's playing that beautiful sax music, but he's got a live show coming up.
He does at the Urban Lounge, the Harem Urban Lounge, Saturday at 8 o'clock. Smooth Jazz Christmas.
Saturday at 8 o'clock if you want to hear Phil Denny in the Harem Urban Lounge. That's right down the street from us here in the state capital area. It's Michael Patrick Shields, heard all across the state of Michigan. And the Golden Globes were announced yesterday, the 68th Annual Golden Globe Awards in Beverly Hills, California. And Ron Van Timmeren from Celebration Cinemas is on the other end of our line right now this morning. Good morning, Ron.
Morning, Michael Patrick.
Have you had a chance, I would think, by now to review the Golden Globe Awards?
Yeah, interesting bunch, and a very, very competitive Best Motion Picture Drama category for sure.
With the Golden Globes, just so everybody knows, sort of tell everybody what they are, because the categories are a little different than the Academy Awards, even though they often say the Golden Globes are the forerunners of the Academy Awards.
Yeah, not so much lately. I mean, last year, Avatar won the Golden Globe, but Hurt Locker the Academy Awards, and that's happened 6 years in a row now that it failed to predict the Oscar with the Golden Globes. But it's the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, which is basically a bunch of reporters that are from places other than America, and they've looked at the movies and decided to break them into drama for Best Picture and then musical or comedy. And the drama, Black Swan, The Fighter, Inception, and King's Speech, The Social Network, those are all great movies. But, man, musical or comedy, The Tourist, give me a break.
Well, The Tourist has gotten bad reviews, but it has two very famous stars, Johnny Depp and Angelina Jolie, right?
Exactly, and they were both nominated, and they're both terrific actors. But, boy, a movie that's getting horrible reviews from the critics here in America gets a Best Picture nomination from the Golden Globe people, and it's just sort of crazy, actually.
Well, they are the ones who love Jerry Lewis, right? I mean, there is a distinction of taste, isn't there, from American moviegoers to internationals?
Yeah, that's where it shows the distinction for sure in that musical or comedy. And of course, with Oscar going to 10 nominations, certainly all of these 5 Best Motion Picture Drama nominees for Golden Globe will be nominated for an Oscar. Throw in a couple more like True Grit, which didn't get anything from the Hollywood Foreign Press. Maybe even Toy Story 3, which of course was nominated for a Best Animated Movie, but I think that'll get an Oscar nomination for Best Picture outside the animated category for Oscar.
I'm very eager to see The Tourist. Am I going to be disappointed?
Well, it's shot beautifully on location in Venice and Paris. It's got, like you mentioned, 2 of the biggest profile actors in the business. It's a caper picture, and so yeah, you've seen that kind of movie before. But it looks pretty, and it's full of pretty people.
Okay, well, I can buy that. Is it under 2 hours?
Yes, it is, Michael Patrick.
All right.
You can make it for sure.
Good settings, good actors, under 2. I'm in for that. I'll suspend my disbelief if the script isn't very good. Now, you mentioned this British drama, The King's Speech, with the Golden Globes, that leads the list of nominees. I consider myself a pretty well-informed moviegoer. How come I've never heard of it?
Yeah, it has really popped up here in the last month or so. I mean, the Weinstein Company was not even going to release it in Michigan until January, but all of a sudden, all of this buzz has got them thinking differently, and now it will open on Christmas Day in most of the Michigan markets.
Okay.
And, it's just a good old-fashioned story based on the true life of King George VI, who was a stutterer and trying to lead the English Empire into war in World War II. That wouldn't do. So he took himself a mentor, a speech therapist, if you will, and then it's their story, and it's apparently very, very good.
Well, that sounds like an automatic Academy Award, if you ask me, just based on the premise.
Exactly, and Colin Firth plays a great King George, and Geoffrey Rush right behind him as the man who taught him to be king.
That's like they made a movie to win an award, don't you think?
Yeah, but it's a small studio picture that really a month ago nobody even saw coming, and it's the beauty of the Oscars this time of year when films will pop out like that and really get a run.
Ron Van Timmeren.
See you at the movies.
See you at the movies and see you at the Golden Globes. Here's Phil Denny now to play us out. He's playing live Christmas music in our Gillespie Group storefront studio this morning, all across the Avenue of Michigan. You can find him at philonsax.com if you want to get his schedule or book him for your party. Come join us for the rest of the morning. We're here till 11. Beautiful sound of Phil Denny on sax, live at here at our Gillespie Group storefront studio. He's playing in the coffee house, attached with the windows wide open. Very famous local performer, Phil Denny. You can find him at philonsax.com if you want to connect with Phil Denny at 9 minutes before the hour. Merry Christmas to everyone. We thought we'd give you a little live music this morning, and he'll be here till 10 or 11 this morning as our Mid-Michigan Business Wrap show will air in the Lansing Market. In Grand Rapids, it'll be at Knapp's Corner, Celebration Cinemas. The West Michigan Business Wrap is live there from 2 until 3, and we are here from 10 till 11, or 9 till 10 this morning with Phil Denny playing live music. So if you're up for it, you want to stop by, we're right down from the Capitol, just a couple of blocks right across from the baseball stadium. You can get coffee, a radio show, business connections with all of the business leaders and all of the small business owners who show up this morning. So you can do a little networking and connecting and hear some live music too. So join us. It's no charge. By the way, tonight I'll be signing copies of my book and giving a presentation. It's called Invite Yourself to the Party. It's at the DeWitt Public Library. If you happen to be in the state capital area there, or you're coming from Mount Pleasant or Grand Rapids, it's at 7 o'clock at the DeWitt Public Library. The book is called InviteYourselfToTheParty.com. I'm looking forward to having a nice presentation tonight and the books. And tomorrow at Firekeepers Casino at happy hour from 5 until 6 in Battle Creek. It's 8 minutes now before the hour. Andy Hetzel, the Vice President of Corporate Communications for Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan, is with us. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Michael.
Well, nowadays, driving is pretty treacherous on the roads. The cars are sliding all over the place, and just getting to the car can be tricky because the roads are sort of slippery and icy. You're a big proponent, and Blue Cross is too, of walking, and I guess you have to be a little creative when the roads are slick like this.
You know what? I could barely walk to the curb this morning to take out my trash can, and it's so true. Around this time of the year, it's tough to get outside on, and keep. If you started off this summer and you got into a good routine, the wintertime when we tend to hibernate a little bit and stay inside, that's a tough time to keep the routine going. So we certainly understand what a challenge it is, but we want to encourage people to get out there and continue to do it.
Well, there are places you can go. I mean, it used to be, the airport used to be a great place to walk, but now that I guess you could still do it, but they've closed the gates unless you have a ticket, so you just have to walk in the terminal. But I always thought that was a good spot to take a good long walk because it looks like, you see people going places, there's lots of energy. But at Christmas time, no better place than to stretch of the legs than the mall, right?
Sure, and it's really crowded too, so you can go, side to side, as you're going forward. But I think it's a good point that people don't need to belong to a gym or pay that money to exercise, and they can find places that are indoors. They can go to the mall. They can go to the store and just, pick up the pace. They can find places at work, long hallways, up and down stairs. That's a great way to get exercise, regardless of the time of the year. So up and down stairs at work is a rule for the winter. Jody Davis, our walking advocate, she lost 162 pounds just by walking and eating healthier. She's, part of her story is that she found it so easy not to do it. And she got out there every day and she motivated herself, despite the weather, to walk that 1.5 miles, 2 miles every day round trip with her dog. And that's something that everybody needs to do every day.
Yeah, and I think once you get into a routine, you become addicted to it, where you would miss your walk if you didn't have your daily walk.
Yeah, routines are very important. I mean, anybody who coaches you on exercise will tell you, give yourself 90 days, do the same thing every day, and it'll become a habit. That's what we're encouraging people to do with walking. Get into walking as a habit. Park further away, walk into your building, walk up and down stairs, find places during the lunch hour where you and a friend can go and stroll around. Just don't sit, because we're doing enough of that sitting as the cold winter months come upon us. In our homes as we tend to hibernate, like I said. So, find a way to make it part of your routine.
Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan has Walking Works, and you can find it at bcbsm.com. Walking Works, and it's BCBSM stands for Blue Cross Blue Shield Michigan, bcbsm.com. And speaking of sitting, I have a small addiction to online shopping that I've confessed to in this holiday season. And this morning I got an email from Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. It was Healthy Blue Extras, and it was talking about giving the gift of motivation, where you could get a discount on a heart rate monitor. That sounds like a pretty great gift.
Yeah, it is. And we've got great partners in that program, Michael. Businesses all across the state of Michigan, including in Lansing, we have L&L Food Centers as a partner, and they provide, I believe, a 10% discount on groceries 1 day a week to our members who go to bcbsm.com, register for the website, and then they can find access to the information that they need every week to find the discounts that they can qualify for. But Moose Jaw and Dunham Sports, a number of different Michigan businesses are providing people with significant savings, and it's free of charge to our members. So if you carry a Blues card, go to bcbsm.com and register on the website and find your savings.
Alrighty, set you up to save money, set you up to be healthy, and told you that walking is free. Andy Hetzel, Merry Christmas to you. Thank you very much.
Merry Christmas, Michael, to you and your listeners.
Walk safely. Andy Hetzel, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. Television viewers, thanks for being with us this morning. Radio listeners, stay right where you are, and if you can get down here to join us, live Christmas music till 10 o'clock this morning in the Gillespie Group storefront studio and on the Avenue of Michigan at the Great Lakes Chocolate and Coffee House. Here's Phil Denny. You can find him at philonsax.com. Wishing you a Merry Christmas. It's Michael Patrick Shields.